Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you still remember what I'm sharing in the past about the Photo Pro apps in the Xperia 1 Mark IV, and also of course it also applicable to other Xperia model which have the Photo Pro apps, and this video also will be applied to those Xperia phone as well. So what I'm trying to share about the content today is about the shutter speed priority mode. So before I jump into this topic, let me quickly to have a quick recap about the program auto mode. If you still can recall what I shared in the past, is in the program auto mode, everything will be manually set by our own, especially like the ISO. If we set to a lowest 125, our shutter speed will be 1/13. If we set the higher ISO like 1000, our shutter speed will increase to 1/100. So this is the beauty of the program mode. But in some of scenario, you trying to capture moving object or subject such as baby, vehicle, or portray people, they are moving, of course. So how you trying to have a clear and a sharp focus in terms of the photos? The things that we could use over here is the shutter speed priority mode. So what being difference between the shutter speed and program auto mode? Basically everything are set or determined automatically by the system itself except the shutter speed mode. So in the shutter speed mode, we can determine whatever shutter speed that we would like to have. Then the system will adjust ISO value by itself. So by default, the exposure value is back to 0. We can compensate whether increase to 1 stop or decrease to the -1 stop, depending on the scenario. So I will show you some example why this shutter speed mode is very important. So let's look into one of these scenarios, such as my recent photo sample, which is this one. If you look at this photo, if you can see that my baby face was out of focus and it's blurry. This is because I'm used the slower shutter speed, which is 1/30, and this was using on the 24mm lenses with the aperture 1.7. So if I increase the shutter speed to a faster shutter speed, I can get a clearer or stand still. I can freeze that particular moment when even the baby is trying to move. And this one I increased to 1/100 with the same lens as well, in the same condition. Okay, so back to the Photo Pro app. So the things that you always have to keep in mind is about the value of the minimum of the optimum shutter speed that you should use is depend on your lenses. If you are choosing on the 24mm lens, you should have the minimum is 1/50. It should be double the value of your millimeter. If you go for the 85mm, the shutter speed that you should have is a 1/160, or even faster, 1/200, to avoid the shakiness, the blurry effects. Yeah, so of course if your subject is moving in ultra fast speed, you might have to increase your shutter speed in the faster mode further, right? But in a normal scenario, we are trying to capture our kids, our baby, some of portrait photo. These are simple rules that you have to keep in mind. Of course, when you go to 125, the minimum is the 1/250. So these are simple rules that you always have to keep in mind. Of course, you can try to lower down when you are trying to have you are pretty sure your object is standstill and not moving at all, so you can get the clear and the sharp photo. But my recommendation for the portrait of such as our kids, our baby, we try to keep this in mind with a double value of our lenses choices. So if you look at the sample just now, that is how important it is. Okay, so this is something that I just want to share. But of course, in the example in this, we also trying to look at our ISO value. We'll try to keep it as low as possible. In 24mm, we use 1050, right? The ISO is just 250 in an indoor environment. First, you can increase your exposure level or decrease your exposure level, so your ISO value will further drop. But of course, your histogram, you can see you lost all your highlight and your shadow, right? You have your highlight but you don't have your shadow, which the area on the bottom left is completely dark. So if I increase back my exposure value, I can see my darker area over here, but it's slightly overexposed on the top left. But something that you could do is, based on your metering mode, if I'm trying to put on the center, like what I mentioned previously, center which focus on the center of the grid line, which this part, the circle of my palm of my finger. If I go for this spot, it will be darker further. So what we trying to do is, depend on our scenario. In this scenario, I will try to get the average of the frame, and I'm trying to get the I would like to see the value on the bottom left, so I can use this. Of course, there's other things that you could do when you're trying to go for this center, and you can use auto HDR. Of course, is auto HDR, you will try to boost up the balance between the highlight and the shadow. So we can see, although the viewfinder is showing very dark on the bottom left, what with the auto HDR is using a 3 image and merging into one, and you can see all these in the darker area, your shadow, your highlight, or everything in balance, right? But this is something that we set it manually just now, and it almost have this similar effect. But the different thing is about our shutter speed, our ISO. In auto HDR we have ISO 400, over here we have ISO 1000, but with a faster shutter speed, right? So this is something that you can decide by your own and see which one is better for your scenario. But the things I would like to highlight over here today is about how we're going to utilize the shutter speed mode in Xperia 1 Mark IV. So hopefully this will be helpful for you. That's all. Thanks, and see you in the next video. Bye.